Good morning. All right. I am really excited to get to it today because we continue in our journey in A Course in Miracles. We are on chapter 17, section 2. Chapter 17 is called Forgiveness and the Holy Relationship. So, we're going to talk a lot about forgiveness. Today's section is called The Forgiven World, and it relates back to one of the core teachings of A Course in Miracles, which is projection makes perception. So, as we open up our call here, let us remember that the world that we see is a reflection of what's going on in our minds. It's a reflection back to us. It's a mirror back to us. And so as we explore the teachings of A Course in Miracles today and the forgiven world, not another world, not a different world, but just this one. So when the Course calls the forgiven world, it means, I guess we can say, we're looking through the world with more innocent, more gentle, more loving, more kinder eyes. And so the forgiven world is just us choosing to see that. And so, yeah, it's not a new planet. It's not some other state of mind that we need to be in, but it's the same world, just seen through different eyes. And so as we go into the teachings today, this section really is to help us understand that the world that we see really is not what's actually there. It's a state of mind, is our current state of mind. And wherever we go, whatever situation we go into, we bring that state of mind with us. And so the invitation for us is to look through the lenses of the Holy Spirit, which is really what the Course is always reminding us, is how the Holy Spirit sees us. And so teaching us through example, teaching us through our prayers, teaching us to remember our brothers and our sisters as innocent child of God, to see through the lens and the eyes of unity rather than separation. And so we'll begin again with the reminder of what projection makes perception means. All right, so most of the times we look at the world and we experience things and we receive it back, right? It's something is happening in the world and I receive it back, and that's my experience. My experience is based on how somebody shows up, how somebody doesn't show up, how an event turns out, or any situation, how those turns out. And what the Course says is we are actually bringing it to that space, because the same situation, the same event can happen, and we can view it two different ways. The only thing that really matters is the lens in which we look through, and that lens we create in our mind first. So if you are, when I'm agitated or annoyed, right, I don't have patience. And I judge very quickly, and I tend to go into this place of victim. Like, man, people just need to relax, people need to stop rushing, people need to hurry up, whatever it is that comes in my mind, right? Because I'm agitated and I'm annoyed. So that's in my mind. And when I experience anyone or anything, instead of seeing it as loving or being more patient, I also rush into this attack. And we make up stories all the time. So forgiveness that we're going to talk about today, the forgiven world, it's not something that is changing. Nothing else outside is changing. All that's happening is our stories and our beliefs and the energy that we attach to things are released. So forgiveness is not just for our brothers or for the world. Forgiveness is for ourselves. And as we give it, and the other teaching from A Course in Miracles is, as we give it, we shall receive it. So whatever you are really wanting in the moment, right, rather than trying to get it from somewhere outside of us, know that if you want to experience peace, if you want to experience love, then you must give it. So as you give it, we can interrupt ourselves in the moment. And oftentimes for me, that interruption just looks like a giggle or a laughter, because I see the insanity of how the ego wants to look at things. I see the insanity of my mind when I'm feeling, feeling angry. I bring it to the situations, and part of healing is to remember to laugh. When we laugh at anything, when we stop taking it so seriously, we can let go of it much quicker. So, yeah, we'll go into the read of chapter 17, section 2 here today, and then we'll open it up. We'll open it up for shares. And the goal of the intention, let's call it, the intention for me on this call here, and you guys can set your own intentions, but the intention for me as I study the Course and as I facilitate this call here, and it's a simple remembering. There's just like this moment that I remember that I'm not a victim of the world, and I am the creator. I'm a co-creator of my own experience in this world. And to remember to see that all the challenges and the obstacles that show up in our way, any triggers, anger, when those things come up, they are an invitation for us to choose again. They're an invitation for us to see the world in right perception this time. And, this year has been a great lesson for me, just full of amazing teachings, which if I was playing the victim, I can really go deep into that, how unfair things are, and, people should do this or people should do that. And when I remember, I realize that I'm the one that's choosing my experience. And I'm looking on the world not with forgiven eyes, but I'm looking at it with judgment and anger. And yeah, so we're going to talk about the forgiven world, what that looks like. And maybe the ego can't really take it, because the ego is going to try to understand it and filter it through its own lenses of our past. Which is crazy, because the next section is called The Shadows of Our Past. The forgiven world will talk about the bridge to this new world. And that world has always been here, is here right now, and will always be here. And we can look upon it. And we are not here to do it alone either. We are here to do this remembering in pairs. So that's called the holy relationship. And we are also given a guide, the Holy Spirit, that reminds us each moment of who we really are, what our function is. And a lot of that is going to come from our experience and writing perception of the world. And this body is also part of this world. The Course calls this the dream world. But everything in the dream world serves a function when perceived correctly. They are not, they're not here to hurt you. They're here to serve as a lesson to be able to look beyond it. So the Course says, it isn't here. The Course does not aim to teach the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. So that means everything in this world, when perceived correctly, is an opportunity for us to see the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. So all discomforts, all disturbances, all triggers are literally just highlighting where it is in ourselves that we are still unhealed. And so when we view things correctly, what am I putting on the altar? And so this is a course about clearing our altar and removing the false idols that are on there, the money, the all the things that we give so much value to. And those things we know doesn't belong on the altar, because the moment that somebody treads upon it or challenges it, we lose our peace. But they do serve a purpose. The only purpose they serve is to remind you that they don't belong on the altar. So right now, I'm remembering a time where something was on the altar. And that was my first A Course in Miracles book. That was on the altar. I had so many things highlighted. I was so excited and marked up. And I'm like, it's the one thing I carried everywhere with me. And it was funny because I didn't let my dog Harley out. This is when I first moved to Florida. I didn't let her out when I left. And she ripped up my ACIM book. Just like ripped the entire thing up. And I lost my peace, and I was so angry. I was so upset because I placed this book on the altar. And so think about that. What is your ACIM book? What is on the altar that if something happened to it, we have this like special relationship to it? And we lose our peace and we get angry. Or we're upset because we lost something. But the Course reminds us, if anything can be lost, it's not wholly true. Right? So I created a special relationship to the Course, to the book itself. And when we have stepped into the forgiven world, we don't need any of this. Forgiveness no longer is necessary. Course in Miracles is no longer necessary, because all we see is through the lenses of love now. All of this stuff, what is it for? It is for us to remember. It is to show us that they aren't what we gave it the value of. And we can put all of our special relationships on there. Anything that is a special relationship. Right? And it's about clearing our altar. So our connection to God is very clear. It's not distracted by all these false idols that we've put on there. Now again, we can go, it's not to say that those things are not important, right? They serve their purpose. And so when they serve their purpose of reminding us to clear up our altar and to have truth on the altar, then those things are all sacred, right? I'm not saying that A Course in Miracles, the book itself, to me was not a sacred thing, but the lesson and the teaching that it provided me was much more than what I gave the meaning of the book in my life. Right? It did change my life. It changed my perspective. But nothing in the world actually changed. Just my thinking changed. So this is the projection makes perception. Our mind is always changing. What is important to us today may not be important to us tomorrow, because we assign meaning to all these things. So the forgiven world is where we release the meaning that we've attached to it and the energies that we've attached to it. And we can see it truly for what it is. And when we see anything truly for what it is, it only is going to bring us joy. That's the trust that the ego doesn't have. The ego does not have that trust that if this wasn't here anymore, I could still have joy. If I did see it for what it is, I would have joy. Not that if I see it for what it is, then I would feel more sense of loss. So, yeah, and we'll dive into the read here in a second. But Claudia. Hello.
Sorry, give me a minute for this. So that is something that I've been going through, that I already had knew about me, and some putting people in programs and things in an altar many times.
Mm-hmm.
And having, you know, dreams that were not mine, but they sound very beautiful, put them in an altar. And in the process, kind of losing like my inner, you know, my inner work, my inner wisdom, my voice, the one that accepts everything, right? Every part of me, and doesn't need any validation from outside. It's just been like a process for a couple of years now, where I realized I have put people in altars, in ideas or dreams that they sound beautiful, but they were not mine. So, and it's like you said, you know, it's like when with my perception, how that brought more confusion in my own, you know, space, in my inner world. You know, so saying that's being part of like an integration too for this year, like how much I can keep like relying from the outside instead of just always just listen, that holy relationship, like you call it, the holy relationship that I have with myself, with others too, but in a holy way, right? So it's been like a very beautiful process. So thank you for the reminder. And you know, that always is only it's just a perception, right? Like it's not that perception or that truth, but it is a perception. So thank you for everything that you have, you know, open and expand in these conversations, because they're very grounded every week. And bringing back to, you know, a little bit for what it was discussed in last week, to understanding too, you know, like when it was the giving the power to a plant, ancestral plant, correct? And how like that it was a little impact to hear that it's like breaking up with a relationship, a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
You know, right? That was very impactful, and meaning where we give so much power outside of us, right? So that's been my main realization, that not only for myself, but for, you know, where we are, but, you know, it's a personal process. It's everybody has to go through their own steps, let's put it that way, and in different ways. So I just wanted to share that. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for the kind words about this call. And know that the only reason why you can even see that and experience that is because that's already real in your mind, right? That groundedness, you recognize it, that love, the kindness, and it's because you are recognizing it. That means it must be real for you. So, you know, kudos on the forgiveness and the work that you've been doing, you know, around everything, and being on this journey with me for 7+ years now. And yeah, I'm just very grateful for you to be here as well. So thank you, sister.
Thank you, brother. Love
And
you.
then here comes your beloved Fraser.
How are you today?
Great. You?
I've been better.
Okay. Tell me more.
I'm losing my peace today, and I'm trying really hard not. Uh,
You're cutting out a little bit, just kind of a little bit hard to hear you.
I'm sorry. Probably where I'm at.
Dang, Bluetooth. No.
Might work better. Just give me a second and see if I can
You,
make it work.
if you turn off the internet, it'll be better, I think.
I don't think I have. Oh, yeah, I think that's what. Okay, how's that?
Yeah, that'll work.
Trying not to lose my peace. The mother of my daughter
Mm.
was very adamant about me working through her schedule and her giving me time to speak with my daughter via FaceTime. And I don't know how I feel about it, but she's basically telling me to grow up and get my daughter a phone. She's 7. She says she doesn't have time for me to be bothering her on her phone. And today she sent me 2 voice messages screaming at me and calling me all kinds of names and telling me that I have to do what she says.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to give it over and not think about it. But at the same time, I also am so tired of the same conversation with her that I'm ready to take legal action. I'm so over I feel like I'm consistently being abused by her because of the way that she speaks to me. And it's always on. It's as if you would explain it how would I explain it to some people sometimes, like Claudia, it's the Tanya show. If it's not on her time, if it's not something that benefits her, then it takes away. That's my experience as of late. And yeah, it's been today. It was my birthday yesterday, and I was really hoping to speak to my daughter, and I wasn't able to because it wasn't on her time frame. And then she said she would call me in the morning on the way to school, and she never did. And I messaged her about 9:30 my time, which would have been 8:30 her time, and said, I guess I missed the window for speaking to my daughter. And she's like, I don't even know why you're texting me. Of course you missed the window. It's your responsibility to set alarms. You have to work within my schedule. And then she got really aggressive and abusive. And I just stopped the text by saying, okay, have a great day. And then I'm starting to get consistent voice messages from her just screaming at me about how I'm a child and how I need to take more responsibility of how to communicate. And she said, just buy my 7-year-old daughter. She said, just buy her a phone already. And she's like, just do what I tell you to do. And I definitely lost my peace for a minute. And I was like, how dare you tell me to do what you I don't know. I was just like, I know that you've talked about sometimes losing your peace and how you come back to your peace, and I just would really love to have this space for you to share that again, because I really could use the healing Alex voice of wisdom.
Well, first of all, what you experience, you're not alone in experiencing agitation when others don't react or behave in the way we want them to. Like, why can't you just be nicer? Why can't you not yell? Why can't you not da da da? Our upset always comes from our inability to accept things the way it is. So, the first step for you, right? I mean, a lot of times, these calls are definitely here for when people are losing their peace. Like, this is great teaching moments for everyone. So, one, we don't know what it's all for, right? You might think that the whole thing, this upset is your isolated situation, but just because you shared it now, it can become a healing part for everyone, right? Because we can all relate to it, and then we can all take that and bring it to other areas that we feel unjustified. So you're not alone in experiencing that, number one. Two, these calls, for me too, it's like a constant, it needs to be a practice, right? So when you start, even if you're not on these calls in the mornings, like, do you set an intention of how you want to experience the world today? Because if you don't set that, you would allow anything to disturb your peace. So this is just about practical things that you can put into your life. Just simply setting intentions in the morning, setting intention before going into the call, because things will rob us of our peace all the time when we're not focused on our intentions. And here is your way back to peace. If peace is what you want, which you've declared this is what you want, and what you want will always be so, maybe not in the time that you want it to be, but it will be so at some point. So trust that peace is coming as fast as you are allowing and you're willing. And our willingness will come from this one simple thing. And if you can just let this little thing, this is your willingness right here. I am not upset for the reason that I think.
I'm not upset for the reason that I think.
We are never actually upset for the reason that I think. See, what you think is her. What you think is the way she treats you. What you think why you're upset is because of that interaction. So that's the willingness. I am not, if you can just allow that to be, I am not angry at this person for the reason that I think. You're creating space now, because if you don't, that person and that situation is right up in your face. And there's no other possibilities besides anger, besides separation, besides any form of attack to whatever your mind is going to justify. Right? First, it could just be words. Then it's lawsuit. Then it's court. Then at some point, our mind can get so disturbed that we will commit things that are way more atrocious than that. Our mind is vicious. If left unchecked, the ego is vicious. So our willingness is to allow the Holy Spirit back to guide us. And we only need to have a willingness, right? Because this is a perfect example. When we are disturbed that way, we don't let the Holy Spirit in. I'm just trying to figure out the situation myself now, right? Like, when we are disturbed, this is actually the time to ask for guidance. But instead of asking for guidance, we're like, I need to figure it out. I need to get even. I need to get, I need to get justice. Like, we go into like, I will play God now, of my own life. And we don't even know anything. We don't even know what's going to happen the next moment. We don't even know if we'll wake up the next day or if she'll wake up the next day or anything. So how do we even play God, right? So in this moment for you, the only thing I can offer is just the remembering of willingness. And that willingness is going to come in the form for you of just a repeating for yourself. And this is lesson 5 in the workbook of A Course in Miracles. So you can even pull that up on your phone and read the whole thing and do the practice itself. You don't need to know the results. You just need to do the practice, which is, I'm not upset for the reason that I think. I am not upset or angry at her for the reason that I think. See, that's the first coming to the altar, like clean. Right? We talked about on Sunday that what we normally do is we try to purify, understand, solve, analyze, figure things out first, and then we give it to God. But really, if you give it to God, then it's solved. And so another really great support might be and this is we also talked about on Sunday with Chris, is the lesson 79. Let me recognize the problem so that it can be solved. And then lesson 80, which is let me recognize my problems have been solved. And this was Chris and I talk about this all the time. We don't even know the problem. That's the problem. And so even if the problem was solved, we would never even know if it was solved because we don't know the problem. So we need to be shown this, and that begins with, I'm not upset for the reason that I think. And this could be great for anybody today. If you lose your peace anywhere, and it doesn't have to be as extreme as what Fraser's experiencing. It could just be a little bit of annoyance or agitation. If that comes up for you, I am not agitated for the reason that I think. And these are practices from the Course. It's not, you will have an experience when you are in that space long enough. And then you will laugh. You will laugh at the insanity of your mind because you're like, how did I get myself that angry? Right? Because when we get that angry, it's like red. We want war. We want to get right. And then when you come back to this peaceful place, the only thing left is, oh my God, that was hilarious. You know, not to judge yourself or condemn yourself for that, but to just realize that was insane. My mind was pretty insane how far I was willing to go. I'm willing to sacrifice myself and anything else in my space just to be right about it. Right? And I throw away my peace. And one of the Course later on will talk about how fast we are willing to throw away our peace. The thing that we want most in our life, we're like, I want peace of mind. And then just notice how often and how quickly you will throw that away. Just to be right. Just to get right. So, yeah. That's I don't have an answer for you, but I know that it is a beautiful homecoming that is available for you right now. The intensity of it shows that it is a beautiful homecoming and beautiful lesson. You know, for you, right? So, I'm not upset for the reason that I think. Okay, and so this is beautiful because that's the dream world. This is the world that we projected and we are experiencing. Like we are separate and people are out to get us and they don't have our backs. All of that, perfect example of the world that we experience, and the Course calls the dream world. Now there is the forgiven world, which is the section that we're going to read today. And the Course will talk about the actual experience of it. And so let's see if we can, because of the contrast here, we can actually maybe live it and experience it through this example that Brother Fraser has just, powerfully brought into this space. So thank you for that. Thank you for that perfect example. Okay. So we're going to read. It's not a very long read. It's medium read. It's 2 pages long. Yeah, I don't even think we need to set any intentions because it's perfectly leading us to it. So, the forgiven world. Can you imagine how beautiful those you forgive will look to you? In no fantasy have you ever seen anything so lovely. Nothing you see here, sleeping or waking, comes near to such loveliness. And nothing will you value like onto this, nor hold so dear. Nothing that you remember that made your heart sing with joy ever brought you even a little part of the happiness this sight will bring you. So it's setting the stage of how grand this forgiven world is. For you will see the Son of God. You will behold the beauty the Holy Spirit loves to look upon, and which he thanks the Father for. He was created to see this for you until you learn to see it for yourself. And all his teaching leads to seeing it and giving thanks to him, to God. This loveliness is not a fantasy. It is the real world, bright and clean and new, with everything sparkling under the open sun. Nothing is hidden here, for everything has been forgiven, and there are no fantasies to hide the truth. The bridge between that world and this is so little and so easy to cross that you could not believe it is the meeting place of the worlds so different. Yet this little bridge is the strongest thing that touches on this world at all. This little step, so small it has escaped your notice, is a stride through time into eternity, beyond all ugliness into beauty that will enchant you and will never cease to cause you wonderment at its perfection. This step, the smallest ever taken, is still the greatest accomplishment of all in God's plan of atonement. All else is learned, but this is given, complete and wholly perfect. No one but Him, Spirit, God, who planned salvation could complete it. The real world, in its loveliness, you learn to reach. Fantasies are all undone, and no one and nothing remains still bound by them, and by your own forgiveness, you are free to see. Yet what you see is only what you made, with the blessing of your forgiveness on it. And with this final blessing of God's Son upon Himself, the real perception, born of a new perspective He has learned, has served its purpose. So when you have learned this, when you experience this real world, the stars will disappear in light, and the sun that opened up the world to beauty will vanish. Perception will be meaningless when it has been perfected, for everything that has been used for learning will have no function. Nothing will ever change. No shifts nor shadings, no differences, no variations that made perception possible will still occur. The perception of the real world will be so short that you will barely have time to thank God for it. For God will take the last step swiftly when you have reached the real world and have been made ready for Him. The real world is attained simply by the forgiveness of the old, the world you see without forgiveness. The great transformer of perception will undertake with you the careful searching of the mind that made this world and uncover to you the seeming reasons you're making it. In the light of the real reason that He brings, as you follow Him, He will show you that there is no reason here at all. Each spot His reason touches grows alive with beauty, and what seemed ugly in the darkness of your lack of reason is suddenly released to loveliness. Not even what the Son of God made in insanity could be withheld a hidden spark of beauty that gentleness could release. All this beauty will rise to bless your sight as you look upon the world with forgiving eyes. For forgiveness literally transforms vision and lets you see the real world reaching quietly and gently across chaos, removing all illusions that had twisted your perception and fixed it on the past. The smallest leaf becomes a thing of wonder, and a blade of grass a sign of God's perfection. From the forgiven world, the Son of God is lifted easily into His home, and there He knows that He has always rested there in peace. Even salvation will become a dream and vanish from His mind, for salvation is the end of dreams. And with the closing of the dream, will have no meaning. Who awake in heaven could dream that there could ever be need for salvation? How much do you want salvation? It will give you the real world, trembling with readiness to be given you. The eagerness of the Holy Spirit to give you this is so intense. He would not wait, although He waits in patience. Meet His patience with your impatience at delay in meeting Him. Go out in gladness to meet with your Redeemer, and walk with Him in trust out of this world and into the real world of beauty and forgiveness. So it's just, what a beautiful invitation. This section is a beautiful invitation to what is possible. This is the vision of heaven, and we can all have it. And if we ever, the moment we experience it, we will realize that all the illusion, all the grievances that we've held up to this point, they were so meaningless. And when we realize that, even the lessons of forgiveness and healing of perception becomes unnecessary. So this is an invitation for heaven. And when we look at anything with forgiving eyes, we see it for what it is. We see it as God's perfection. So even in this experience of you and your daughter's mother, Fraser, like, can you see God's perfection in there? That's the holy sight that we are looking for, that we are really wanting to see. This is showing me what my ego wants to see. And if I can look beyond it, because the ego screams first, the ego screams louder. We have to tune ourselves back, and we have to ground ourselves again to be able to look at that as perfection, God's perfection of putting this in my life. What is it for? And the Course says, meet your impatience with the Holy Spirit's patience. Jill. Hi.
Hi. Sorry. Took me a minute. Thank you. I didn't hear what Fraser, I came a little late, so I didn't hear the context of that. But what I thought of was Chris on Sunday when he was talking about the separation when Adam and Eve were in the garden. And what this makes me think is that we all discussing this all of us in this particular call, because we are discussing it, it feels like the redemption. It feels like the atonement. And just the mere fact that probably a couple of years ago, even, and I've been to loads of Course in Miracles courses, people did not have this discussion in this manner. And so it feels like, I mean, yes, it was going on, but there's a different energy that you bring and that the call brings. And maybe it's the times that we're living in, that it's coming up, that we are actually making those moves in this direction, and that we're doing it collectively as well. So I think I remember years ago when people used to talk about the quote, second coming, and they would, and what I remember hearing about it is that it would be collective, that what that actually meant, the second coming, was that it would be a collective arising, a collective waking up, a collective atonement or whatever. And so what I was experiencing while you were reading that section was just that it was a collective opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, if we look beyond our technology, and if we see everything as this, like, us achieving this place where we can, how cool is it, first of all, that we are able to connect with anybody in the world? Like, there is technology for us to literally connect to anyone in the world, right? Separate it, it looks like it's technology, it's this and that, but it's really an extension of our ability to almost like telepathically communicate. Like, imagine like the caveman days, looking upon what we're able to do today, right? And how much we take all that for granted. So it's all this perception that is happening for us, and it is the times. There's a really interesting book called Theory U, and this book talks about the different ages, how, back in the day, the Stone Ages, how long it lasted. Then it moved into, whatever age was after that, and the Golden Age and the Industrial Age. And these ages, they get shorter and shorter and shorter. And it points to a time where it will be an instant. There's going to be this age that's going to be an instant. And it's going to be a full awakening of the collective. And so we are moving in that direction. So all the separation and all the wars and all of that stuff happening right now is showing us and teaching us something. Now, the challenge sometimes is that we don't heal our perceptions. Rather, we take the opposite end. So if like something, let me see. How do I explain this? Maybe, you know what? I'll go back to our conversation on the last call last Wednesday when we talked about the release of marijuana. Right? So one of our brothers here was talking about the release of marijuana. It was very emotional for him and all this, the attachment to this plant. And so we go from like abusing it to completely shutting it off. Like we swing to the opposite side without being able to bring to a sovereign present moment decision making. And so our minds aren't really healed in that moment because we create stories versus being able to bring ourselves to the holy moment and actually be healed because we find the present moment. Right? So it's not a bad thing. We need to we experience those things for a reason. But we experience the polarities and the opposites just for us to realize that neither is really healed. If we are abusing something or we completely, shut it out from our lives, right? Either way, we have a judgment on it. And so it's not a completely healed place, but yes, in this moment, if you chose it, it's perfect. It's still part of God's perfection of his plans for you. But at some point, we will awaken to the fact that if I do that, it still has me, right? It still has me because I still have this judgment around it. It's not a healed perception. So can we still, in the moment, choose? And the way that we do this is no different than, Fraser, the I'm not upset for the reason that I think, right? Is can I give it over to the Holy Spirit? It's always about giving it over and help me make the decision here. Because I don't really know if it's good for me or not good for me, right? That's where we need to, that's where when we get to this healed place, because the only healing that ever needs is that you realize you are not the decision maker and that you will ask. The healing is always in remembering to ask, remembering that to be guided, remembering to see the flow. When we make our own judgments, we have no idea that we can, what we're even judging on. And all it does is reinforce the idea that I can be the judge. And so all questions, and this is why I love we touched upon with Chris, is let me realize the problem. The problem is not my addiction. The problem is not my daughter's mother. Let me recognize the problem so that it can be solved. And then the following is let me recognize that the problem has already been solved. And maybe, because Chris touched upon it, and it's such a really powerful lesson in the course, we can even read that. But yeah, thank you, Joe, for your share. And also, again, whatever is being brought to this call, if you see it, it means it's real for you. It's in you. You are bringing it to this space, So the recognition means you have it. You're the one that's bringing it. So thank you.
Well, I actually have a funny problem story.
Sure.
So I'm doing Art Basel, And I have a show at Art Basel, and the woman who was helping to organize it has shown up at my house, and she's staying with me. And it's presented me with, like, I see it. I see God is hilarious. I just think the angels and God are so funny because they like got me with, like, really push my button, like to the nth degree. And I see it and I go outside and I sit down and I sort of laugh about it. And then I go back in the house and scream at her, or something like that. Not quite, but it's sort of bordering on that's what I'm feeling. And so I think that that's kind of the part that's kind of interesting is to recognize, like, okay, so what I see is this person was brought to me to teach me mostly patience, my biggest problem, patience, and mostly tolerance, and also judgment. And so my husband used to say, the genius, he used to go, Jill, there's only two things that kill us as humans. I go, what, Lee? What are those two things? And he'd go, the buildings we live in, and I can explain all that because every building that we live in right now is actually killing us, and judgment. Those are the two things that are killing us, he used to tell me. So anyway, so I try. I mean, and he used to say, Jill, you do not try to pick up a book, you just pick it up. There is no try to pick it up. So me saying I try isn't it, but I do recognize that, I recognize the flaw inside myself that is like so glaring at me. And this person is there just to point this out to me in such a big way. Like, I'm neat. This person's a slob. Like, it's like things like that that are just like enough to like pick up your cup, or whatever it is. And can't you just wash a dish? I mean, really, you're the guest in my house, just like, this kind of stuff. But it goes beyond that. But so I really appreciate the call and coming back to it all the time so that I can ground myself in how flawed how flawed my perception is and how much, so to speak, progress within those flaws to be able to look at it and sort of, like I say, I go outside and I sit on the chair and I just sort of go, God, you are so freaking funny to do this. Or you are funny. That's actually funny.
Yeah.
And then I go back and ready to kill her.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, this is the healing process of even like what we think flawed means, right? It's like, as long as you believe that you have flaws and you judge the flaws, you can't help but project that back out. It's just going to happen. We are a vessel of whatever is real in our mind. It's just going to come. Like we're literally just a vessel. We can't even help the energy, even if we tried, right? So whatever is real in our mind, it just immediately goes out because it's projected back out into the world, and then we reflect that same thing back. So we're just this channel. Whether you like it or not, you're going to be a channel. So can you be a channel of, blessing, of God's blessing and love and expansion, or will you make up this dream world and then project that out? That's the only really two things that is happening for us. So I love that you can laugh at yourself doing that. I get into upsetness and stuff, and I guess for me, healing would be how fast can I laugh at my insanity? My insanity, my flaws, my perfection, whatever we want to really call that, right? It's just when we can laugh at it quickly, we allow it to move through. We don't hold on to it. Because the Course says all we're really seeing is our past. And so, yeah, I would love to just read these two lessons here. They're pretty short. But this might ground us and put us into right mindedness. So as we read this section here, think about a problem that you have right now. What is a problem that you're dealing with? What are you upset about? What's triggering you? Let those be your teachers right now. Okay, they're about to become a teacher for you. So what grievances are you holding in your mind? Where are you not allowing miracles to replace those grievances? So it could be anything, no matter how small it is, right? Confusion, conflict, all of it. So lesson 79 says, let me recognize the problem so that it can be solved. A problem cannot be solved if you do not know what it is. Even if it is really solved already, you would still have the problem because you will not recognize that it has been solved. This is the situation of the world. The problem of separation, which is really the only problem, has been solved. Yet the solution is not recognized because the problem is not recognized. Everyone in this world seems to have his own special problem, have special own problems. Yet they are all the same and must be recognized as one if the one solution that solves them all is to be accepted. Who can see that a problem has been solved if he thinks the problem is something else? Even if he is given the answer, he cannot see its relevance. That is the position which you find yourself now. You have the answer, but you are still uncertain about what the problem is. A long series of different problems seem to confront you, and as one is settled, the next one and the next one arise. There seems to be no end to them. There is no time in which you feel completely free of problem and at peace. The temptation to regard problems as many is the temptation to keep the problem of separation unsolved. The world seems to present you with a vast number of problems, each requiring a different answer. This perception places you in a position in which the problem solving must be inadequate and failure is inevitable. No one could solve all the problems the world appears to hold. They seem to be on so many levels, in such varying forms, and with such varied content that they confront you with an impossible situation. Dismay and depression are inevitable as you regard them. Some spring up unexpectedly, just as you think you have resolved the previous ones. Others remain unsolved under a cloud of denial and rise to haunt you from time to time, only to be hidden again, but still unresolved. All this complexity is but a desperate attempt not to recognize the problem, and therefore not to let it be resolved. If you could recognize that your only problem is separation, no matter what form it takes, you could accept the answer because you would see its relevance. Perceiving the underlying constancy in all the problems that seem to confront you, you will understand that you have the means to solve them all, and you will use this means because you recognize the problem. In our longer practice period today, we will ask what the problem is and what is the answer to it. We will not assume that we already know. We will try to free our minds of as many different kinds of problem we think we have. We will try to recognize that we only have one problem, which we have failed to recognize. We will ask what it is and wait for the answer. We will be told. Then we ask for the solution to it, and we will also be told. The exercise today will be successful to the extent to which you do not insist on defining the problem. Perhaps you will not succeed in letting all your preconceived notion go, but it is not necessary. All that is necessary is to entertain some doubt about the reality of your version of what your problems are. You are trying to recognize that you have been given the answer by recognizing the problem, so that the problem and the answer can be brought together and you can be at peace. The shorter practice period for today will not be set by time, but by need. You will see many problems today, each one calling you for an answer. Our efforts will be directed towards recognizing that there is only one problem and one answer. In this recognition are all problems resolved. In this recognition, there is peace. But be not deceived by the form of problems today. Whenever any difficulty seems to arise, tell yourself quickly, let me recognize the problem so it can be solved. Then try to suspend all judgment about what the problem is. If possible, close your eyes for a moment and ask what it is. You will be heard and you will be answered. So, what a great practice for us today. You know, it's just this invitation to not have the solution or the answer and be okay with that. Because we seem to want an answer for everything now. And leading up. I mean, we do this. So you do this, you recognize, let me ask what the problem is instead of let me decide what the problem is. Let me just ask. And then lesson 80 says, let me recognize my problems have been solved. So if you are willing to recognize your problems, you will recognize that you have no problems. Your one central problem has been answered, and you have no other. Therefore, you must be at peace. Salvation thus depends on recognizing this one problem and understanding that it has been solved. One problem, one solution. Salvation is accomplished. Freedom from conflict has been given you. Accept that fact, and you are ready to take your rightful place in God's plan for salvation. Your only problem has been solved! Exclamation mark. Repeat this over and over to yourself today with gratitude and conviction. You have recognized your only problem, opening the way for the Holy Spirit to give you God's answers. You have laid deception aside and seen the light of truth, and you have accepted salvation for yourself by bringing the problem to the answer. And you can recognize the answer because the problem has finally been identified. You are entitled to peace today. A problem that has been resolved cannot trouble you. Only be certain you do not forget that all problems are the same. There are many forms. Do not deceive you while you remember this. One problem, one solution. Accept the peace this simple statement brings. In our longer practice period today, we will claim the peace that must be ours when our problems and answers have been brought together. The problem must be gone because God's answer cannot fail. Having recognized one, you will recognize the other. The solution is inherent in the problem. You are answered and you have accepted the answer. You are saved. Now, let the peace of your acceptance, let the peace that your acceptance brings be given you. Close your eyes and receive your reward. Recognize that your problems have been solved. Recognize that you are out of conflict, free and at peace. Above all, remember that you have one problem and that problem has one solution. It is in this that the simplicity of salvation lies. It is because of this that it is guaranteed to work. Assure yourself often today that your problems have been solved. Repeat the ideal with deep conviction as frequently as possible, and be particularly sure to apply the ideal to any specific problems that may rise. Say quickly, let me recognize this problem has been solved. Let us be determined not to collect grievances today. Let us be determined to be free of problems that do not exist. The means is simple honesty. Do not deceive yourself about what the problem is, and you will recognize it has been solved. Oof. So, well, Jill, it literally says, don't try to recognize what the problem is. Ask for what the problem is. All right, so I don't know. You're asking me that, ask Spirit that, and see what, because you ask, it will be answered. But not because we are looking for an answer, we're just trying to recognize what the problem is. The moment we recognize the problem, we will receive the answer. So these two lessons are really powerful lessons that go back to back with each other, which is lesson 79 and lesson 80. Lesson 79, let me recognize the problem so it can be solved. Lesson 80, let me recognize my problems have already been solved. Whew, that's a lot. It seems like a lot, but it's so simple. But to the ego and the racing mind, we're like, wait, let me ask more questions. Let me make it more complex than it is. But what if this and what is that? The need to understand is unnecessary here in this. This is why the workbook and the practices are so valuable, because there is no need to understand. Just do it. Just do it and then experience. And so that's our doing today. So if anything, at least just do lesson 79 today, which is when the problems come up. Just tell yourself, recognize very quickly and say, let me recognize the problem so that it can be solved. That's it.
I think that the real thing that when you were reading that, the thing that I got out of it right there was the thing about the grievances, because that's what I was describing, right?
Yeah.
My grievances. I'm like, oh yeah, pick up your freaking cup. I wasn't saying it like that. But that's what I was thinking. And those are grievances. And if I think the word that's coming to me more than anything else is compassion. So yeah, I just love this. I love the sounding board because I I was definitely ready to go on a war path, but holding myself
I think that's
definitely.
the theme of today. Actually, I'm experiencing something very similar. I gave somebody an ultimatum. I was like, I am going to file a lawsuit today if you don't do X. Right? Like, literally in the same, how are we all coming here with the same situation, just different forms? Right? It's literally the same situation. No different from mine to Jill's about doing dishes. The course is it's so simple for me because it's black or white. The course says every decision that you make, and I'm paraphrasing, it's somewhere in the course. Every decision that you make is between grievances or miracles. That is it. Right? And other times it says between love and fear, between heaven and hell, but it's all the same thing. The crucifixion and the resurrection. It's just using a bunch of words and symbols to tell you only have two choices. You can make a choice for the crucifixion, which will bring you grievances, which will bring you more fear, which is the ego, which you are now in hell. Okay, that's your one option. The other option is you are making a decision for miracles, which is love and acceptance and heaven and unity and forgiveness and the resurrection. Like these are where our minds can have one of two things happening. That's it. Even as you're listening, it's not just how we extend and project out there. It's in our listening. Even in this exact moment, you only have two. And I love what Chris said on Sunday. He said, "Be glad that you don't have a million different options. You got two. That's it." And you can know which one you choose or you chose based on the fruits, based on the results. What are you experiencing now? Are you experiencing peace? Like if you go to all out war with somebody, do you experience peace now? Oh, I guess I didn't choose peace. I chose grievances. I chose revenge. I chose to get right. I chose crucifixion. I am going to crucify you. And I'm going to take action. I'm going to take up arms. And every time we take up arms, we cannot escape the bloodshed ourselves. So, yeah, awesome. This is I feel very clear about things in my own life that somehow I'm still holding a lot of grievances to. It's funny. I'm like talking about this right now. And then I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing in my life? So thanks, y'all. Thanks for, and everyone that's on this call. Like, I see you, I see your name, and I see your presence. I appreciate your contribution just by being in this space and witnessing. So yeah. Dan has said, fear and worry are worship of the enemy. To believe a vision is fulfilled as prepared for you is obedience and faith in action. Yeah. Like every religion, every scholar, every philosopher basically comes back down to realizing this simple dilemma that we have. We got two things. That's it. The enemy or your friend. Heaven, hell. Holy Spirit, devil. Whatever you want to call these things, there's just only two things. That's it. We don't have a million different choices. Awesome. What else? We've covered a lot here today. But what else is wanting to be shared by anybody here on this call?
I'll go.
Share, Mike.
Yes. Thank you again for this this call. Claudia and Fraser and Jill, resonate with all of it, and you as well, Alex. For me, like lately, I've been very like unsure and unclear about a lot of things in my life. My job situation, my relationship with my wife. I've been separated for like 18 months from her. And, this past week and a half, I've kind of realized that, even though like we've been separated, we're still married. I haven't really been like present for her and, even my son. So I have my son on certain days and I get in with like being present for her. Like, we have 3 dogs and I'm not able to take the dogs. So she takes, she's taking care of everything in the house and my son. And it's been, I've kind of realized that, even though, yes, we're separated, like I still have a role to play in that relationship and that I need to be available to help out more around, the house and still take care of, my responsibilities. And the last 3 days, she invited me to a food show to do some work. And, while I was there, I was just kind of, some things were coming up about just like our relationship, like moving forward and like, the feelings that were coming up while being around, like, just her and I. And a lot of things that I've kind of been holding back as far as like what I've been going through and, what I actually like want in life. And, is it something that maybe she would be interested in? Maybe it could rekindle, our relationship. And, before the call, I was on a brief call with Brother Eric, and, he shed just a lot of light on my situation. And now I'm driving back and I'm just thinking of all these judgments and things that I've placed on this relationship. Like, again, like I feel if I say this or invite her to do these things, that she's automatically going to react a certain way because of the past. And just based on this call again, it's like it's not true. Like me having this fear of, what if I just tell her exactly what I want and she might be accepting of it. It might be, hey, I want to do this together, and the fear of like rejection or the fear of judgment from her. And these are all fears of mine that I'm projecting. And, like Brother Fraser was saying with the phone calls, I can definitely relate to that because she's made similar phone calls to me and just like she'll call and she just starts yelling and all these things. And there's to a point where I just like I hang up because I don't want to hear it. And not allowing her to just vent for whatever. Instead, I just hang up because I don't want to hear it, and it doesn't help the situation. Instead of just being there and holding space, like let her vent whatever she's feeling, and listening. And now I'm driving back, and I'm just thinking like everything in my life that I'm just so unsure of, like I got involved in a lot of things at the same time, and I have no clarity, and I'm not really, again, like, setting an intention for the day, like you said. Lesson 79, like I've been on lesson 42 or 43 for the past 2 weeks. Like I stop and, I don't make it a priority, I really haven't said it, like wake up in the morning, do my lesson, and have an intention set for the day. And I'm so glad that, everybody spoke up, because like you said, we're all feeling this in some type of way, like some problem that we have that is not even the problem that we think it is. And, I do have hope. I know like things are happening the way they're supposed to. And it's tension. Like my roommate called me yesterday and said, "Hey, there's an eviction notice on our door. You forgot to pay rent." And I have it set on auto pay. It said to pay half the rent. Well, it was only paid half the balance, and I didn't even look. And I'm like, I got to go home and deal with an eviction notice, which I've never had ever in my life. And it was all because I just assumed that my half of the rent was paid and only paid half the balance of the remaining rent, So, just a lot of things that are kind of coming up. And again, being able to speak about it in this container and with everybody on the call, it's just so powerful. And I quickly forget to I can lean on my brothers and sisters for guidance in this situation, especially in the relationship with my wife, because there's parts of me that I was like, you know what, it's over, it's done. We're just gonna get divorced and that's it. And I was okay with that. And now it's like, well, maybe there could be something. Maybe we could start this, down this path and build a really good relationship. Be able to lean on the brothers and sisters in the community and maybe find some kind of resolution, whether it's getting back together or maybe not. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But I definitely have a lot more hope in, what that would look like for me, if I was able to actually rekindle this relationship, what it would do, I don't know. But the clarity thing for me is like so unsure of, well, I don't know, maybe, am I doing the right thing? So then I don't do it. And it's like, that's like the worst thing to do, right? It's like, I'm afraid of failure, but I'm afraid of trying, to say, hey, if it doesn't work out, at least I tried. Mm-hmm. But not trying at all is me saying that I know what the outcome is going to be.
That's it right there.
It's just not true.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard to swallow. Like, it just, as much as I can get on the calls and talk about these things, and I get up and I have these moments of like I just feel so good. And then somehow I'll lose my peace, however that is. And that feeling just quickly goes away. And I'm like, how do I feel like this, an hour ago? And then it's just gone. Like getting off the call and it's like, all right, boom, into the next thing. No time to process or integrate it,
Yeah.
So I don't know what I'm trying to say, but that just came out. And again, I think all the brothers and sisters on this call for contributions and, listening, and also bringing, bringing forth what's going on in your lives. It helps the collective. So thank you.
Yeah, that's first of all, really appreciate the depth of vulnerability that you'll go to, right? Because you're experiencing safety in this space, which is you're also bringing it, right? So as you bring, it takes it's I recognize and I acknowledge the fact that you brought up, where you were falling short and where, these things are happening. Like it's a lot to be able to just be able to admit that. And one of the things that you said is in trusting your own judgment, right? The presence of fear, the Course says the presence of fear is a sure sign that you are trusting in your own strength. And so I don't have, there's no answer for you, right? For that I can possibly say, but I can read also something real quick and then we'll go to Claudia. From Mary, I open up a year of miracles often when things come up, and I'm just gonna open it and see what it says, and it always says something really perfect. So this one is for you, brother, and we'll see if this supports your situation and your mindset. All right, so this is on day 224. It says, I release my character defects to God. I know there are parts of me, how I think and behave, that are dysfunctions embedded in my personality. I feel shame when I see them, yet I will not look away. I see them and I atone for them. I release my character defects and pray that God takes them away. I know my defects are not where I am bad, but rather where I have been wounded. But regardless of the events that led to their development, I am fully responsible for my defects now. I accept what they are, surrendering them to God with a prayer that He pave a new path in my consciousness. Thus shall I and those around me be free of who I used to be. Dear God, please take from me the things that I do that deviate from love. I surrender the thinking that binds me to dysfunction, and pray that your Spirit come upon me and change me. Return me to the essential self, that I might be in all ways who you created me to be. Amen. So all this dysfunctions and anything that you do that can possibly deviate, that you think is deviating you away from love, give it up. Allow God to take that from you. And then don't make your decisions based on pasts and wonders and all that. Be confident in your decisions. See, confidence comes from knowing that I am not deviating from love. And that you are guided, and that angels and Holy Spirit and God walks with you through every decision that you can possibly make, regardless if you show up or don't show up. That it is safe to do either one. And just let love and your heart guide you in, the decision to make. So, okay, Claudia.
So, thank you for giving me the chance again to speak, especially because I will be reflecting back something to my beloved one and brother Mike about the exes, right? I was one day that ex, right? And right now I have the most beautiful co-parenting time with the father of my children. But not always we did a very beautiful divorce. We never got into like a crazy, drastic, crazy fight. We had our conflicts for sure, but we never really had fights but I do remember how my frustration could project to the father of my children when I was in that space. So because Mike was recognizing, I'm the one who kept 3 dogs, 2 kids, and when he moved out, or when we moved and took our path, he took only his life and continued his life, and I was taking everything else with me. So I'm not saying it's no one's fault, right? It's just saying that the recognition that when we have to move in our path because we no longer can be together in the romantic relationship and the partnership, then there's it takes a different form. But in the process, there's some frustration, anger, and all these things. So what I always invite Fraser is to look at her with compassion and never hear her projections that are like directly to him, because they're not about him, it's about herself. What I recognize too is like she does have a particular tendency that when she is in this frustration space, regardless what is happening around in her life, or if there's more attention to one person than another person, she has to turn it around. I don't think she does it consciously, but definitely something that she has this tendency, right? So that's why I always, I'm not her friend, but I always see her side as well. Like I'm not friends with, I'm friendly with her, but she's not my best friend, or she's not so close to me. Fraser ex-wife, the mother of his child. Now what I recognize too is like there's a constant, tendency of manipulate where she wants certain things in certain way. And I see too the frustration on Fraser's side. So then saying that she has a lot on her plate. She has dogs, 5 cats, a new husband that is no, in her own words, is not that well. A daughter with a tendency of autism that is going through something in school right now. And her own, identity that she has identified with a disease that she says she carries for all her life. And then all these things, sometimes she has that, level of explosion. And here, what I hear Fraser is like asking for a little bit of compassion from her to be having spoken to his daughter yesterday on his birthday, but she always makes excuses. And this is something that I have witnessed. She always makes excuses that she's too busy. So what Fraser is trying to put on a value for him is that I don't see the value of giving a 7-year-old a phone just to give the peace for both of the parents, because then it's going to create something else to the daughter, a 7-year-old. And then that's the one thing that I stand for him, because even though she'll have the phone, it's always going to be under the supervision of the mother. So if she doesn't have the time, that's not going to solve the problem. So the truth is, the problem is not that he's not giving her the phone. The problem is deeper than that. The problem is that she has so much going on in her plate that she is not at peace with herself. And then, of course, has to project out, has to, rage out, because it's her way to be able to not get more sick. Let's put it that way. So I'm always share this with him. And even though in moments, I have to have some certain words to her, because she does insult him. She does offend really ugly. And I had to stand for him one time saying, you do not want gonna do this to him anymore. It's enough. It's enough insulting him and offending him. So, and this is what I say, but definitely it's like to see always the other side, the other, the compassion. And thank you, Mike, for recognizing what you recognize about the mother of your daughter, of your son. It's the same thing, like she has a lot on her plate, and there's sometimes we just need to vent. The only thing is that we don't know how to communicate when we need to vent. And then it's a process. And if you can hold that space for her, it's like what really is going on her. And then maybe, like you say, how can you, be compassionate and be more present for her need as the co-parenting part, right? If you are not romantically involved anymore, right? So, and this is what I do with the father of my children. Like when he is frustrated because our daughter lives with him now, and I ask him constantly, like, what do you need from me? Because I'm hearing his frustration. To say, what do you need from me? Like how I can help you? And he's like, no, I already vent, thank you. Oh, And that was it. So now the father of my children, he has never been projecting things on me. He's not that type, he doesn't have that tendency, but I've seen him very, very, very much frustrated, that I get to have a lot of compassion in his frustration where he is at. And I'm always giving him, words of affirmation, like, you're doing great. Whatever you did, it was great. It doesn't matter the result. It was a great movement. You did your best. So, and that's my invitation, just to invite them to, like, you're doing your best, and I do whatever I do. I know, I don't remember how old is Mike's son, but I know that Ayla is still very little. She's 7. She doesn't have the span of attention, even when you don't have an autistic kid, is so little. So there is that this back and forth about fighting for a phone call for 15 minutes once a week is not to lower the value, like the value of, like, stand for not having a child with another electronic, you know? So it's the only
Awesome.
thing that I have to share.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Also, just to point out, a lot of it is still just stories we make up. Kids with electronics, kids without electronics, kids this, we just make up these stories like we know, right? We don't actually know. We just think we know. So obviously one thing for us is to look at, like, we're still creating the cycle of attack and all of that. Now the way out is to remember that every single thing, including whatever is coming out of our own mouths, is either love or a call for love. And if that's all that it is, doesn't matter if it comes out in the form of screaming or shaming or whatever, the only appropriate response is with love. And so if you know you're coming with, if you feel it, right? Not like a masked version of love, but if you feel like you're responding with love, then respond. If you don't feel like you're in a space of love, then just sit and let yourself experience what you're experiencing. Right? This is the only thing that we can do, is we can be the guard. We can be the guardian of our mind and what comes out of our mouth, what comes out of our actions. And so, is it love? You will know, again, based on your experience afterwards, right? We can be like, oh, well, it's tough love. What the heck is that? Right? It's like some version of our justification of attack. So, yes, like Chris said, we got to police ourselves. And the entire thing is for us to recognize, oh, maybe I don't really know what love is, right? I'm experiencing still tightness and discomfort and righteousness and all of that. That means I must have not responded with actual love. Let me do it again. Let me try it again. Let me sit until I'm ready. When I'm ready to respond with love, let me try it again. Until you feel, after the conversation, you're like, oh man, I feel good. I feel at peace. Great. You've done love in that moment. And that's right here for us. That's why it seems like the problem is the phone. It seems like the problem is her busyness. It seems the problem of her projection. It seems the problem this and all these different problems that we make up. That's not the problem. The problem is we don't know what love is. All right, go ahead, Eric and Mike, and then we will wrap it up here.
Yeah, just wanted to comment for both of them, but I think you just covered it in what you just said. But basically, just before you have these conversations, make sure you're in a good state to, like, be proactive and not reactive. Like, if you can't handle someone screaming at you, like, don't have the phone call right then. Like, schedule it when you're in a better state. And that way, because, even hanging up, I've done it in the past, like, hanging up can be reactive. It's like, oh, hang up. And thank you, Mike, for having the call before this and sharing on this call, because I think it's definitely powerful to know that, you're not alone and that there's, people in this call that have been through what you're going through and can actually support you even better than I can. Glad that I was able to, highlight some of the stuff that was bringing up fear for you. and that you were just kind of, like you said, going from your past. And, that's so, like, that is the problem. Whereas, like, you thought your problem was your ex and you want to get back together or not. So yeah, great call. I don't really have much else to say anymore because Alex took care of it. But awesome,
beautiful.
great shares.
Yeah, thank you, Eric.
And thanks.
Yeah, and amazing. Being such a stand for people in our community too. So really, really see you for that. Mike, wrap us up. Take us out.
Yes, thank you, Claudia and Eric. For that. One thing I wanted to mention, maybe to Fraser, what I did with my son, kind of in the same dilemma with the phone. I bought him a Apple Watch that has a phone number, so he can call me, I can call him. He's still able to communicate anywhere without like all the technology stuff on the phone. So I just want to maybe entertain that. I know she's 7. I bought my son his watch. I think he was 9. But it's helped a lot. Like, I'm able to call him directly, or he's able to call me directly. And it's definitely worked, so I could have that communication. I mean, I don't know, if that's something, still 7 years old, but, it's just another way to communicate through the Apple Watch, and it works. So that's just something I was thinking when you said that. And that's all I got. Thank you, guys.
Beautiful. Well, this has been a really good call. Thank you guys for all the contribution and all the shares. It's been really beautiful. And we will continue on Sunday. I think this is a great place that we leave off, which is actually almost like a to be continued story. Can't wait to hear everyone's like Sunday compared to today. All right. And I think next, okay, and I've been saying this, but David and I have just been kind of going back and forth in this. Next Wednesday, David will come and bring the Eastern philosophy, Eastern teachings to this Course in Miracles call. So he's somebody that I literally, every time we're together, every time we talk, we spend hours and hours just chatting. And it's really, really awesome. So can't wait to bring him on. And then I think in the near future, I will also bring Samsara back on again, because she's got some just really epic things that she's up to. And she's growing tremendously in this space. So I want to highlight her again. Okay. Well, and if anybody wants to be highlighted as well, just let me know, because, this is a place. This is that place. Alrighty. That's it. That's all, folks. Much love. Thank you guys for being on today. Really supported me as well in the message. And I put the A Year of Miracles picture in the WhatsApp chat so you guys can see it. Oftentimes I forget and I can't find it again. But got it. All right. Later.